Hello, hello! Let's talk about Solar Raid. This time it is not Nihilister. Yay! Welcome to the second form of Nihilister, showing off why it is the worst and least fun boss possible. So, this boss is awful. They took the worst trait, the worst form of Nihilister as a boss, who, in my opinion, but frankly, at this point I think it's pretty much objective, is the worst Tyrant boss fight to fight. It feels like shit to fight, and it plays like shit. They changed a few things, but for the most part, it plays more or less like a more annoying version of the campaign fight. It is truly mind-boggling how they managed to make the worst boss fight they've ever made worst for a solo raid, but here we are. I just want to point out, right, second form Nihilister, you might not realize how shit it is, but that's mostly because you only have 40 to 45 seconds to fight it, not a whole ass 3 minutes like this fight is. And yeah, it really showcases what I don't like about this fight. This fight is RNG. This fight has quite a bit of RNG, stuff that is out of your hand. Does not matter how skilled you are. If you're unlucky, you're unlucky. So, yeah. As far as the boss is concerned, it tries to do a bunch of things at once, and it kind of corners you in some ways. So, the worst part of the fight, this projectile throwing attack. One thing to note, the ice source. You might wonder, what the fuck even are those? What do they do? I don't understand. Why do you take no damage from these? Okay, so here's the thing. The way these work is that they power up the projectile that are thrown at you. If you do not kill them, well, they will just kill you. If you do kill them, it will tickle you, but slowly whittle you down unless you have some kind of healing, shield, or in this specific team's case, taunt. Now, I will mention this. This is the only team you can put Grave in, okay? Because you need Blanc for a comp, and there's no point in running Blanc and Grave together. There is no reason to put Naga and Grave in the same team. The Litter team needs an Electric, and that's why you put Mary in there, not Grave. And then you have the Exia comp, which has no heal, no shield, no taunt, so your team is doomed to die at around 1 minute 10 left. Because that's the third Dragon Breath, and you will lack cover on at least 1 or 2 characters, and that will kill the run. So the only comp that actually works for Grave is the one with Cinderella, because Cinderella taunts technically the laser that the boss does. I'll explain what the laser is as we go through the fight. And it taunts it away from Red Hood, so Red Hood can stay at full HP. And then at one point might have to tank a few lasers. She can take 3. She can take 1 undercover, and that's it. If you take more than that, the run is dead. So, yeah. Grave is kind of unwieldy. This is a more on the safe side run. You can certainly decide to just go balls to the wall and just ignore some projectile, but I strongly advise against it. However, I do understand that you might want to just like kill some projectile, go back to doing damage, kill some projectile, go back to doing damage. Just understand, this will make the fight harder for you, but you get more damage out of it. I only do 3.1 bill on this team. I've seen people do 5 bill on this team. My elemental damage on Maiden isn't great, so that's probably why. But yeah. As far as why is Red Hood on the comp, I'm just going to put it as simple as I can. Burst 1 is really good for Cinderella. Cinderella is a defender, and Red Hood gives attack based on caster's attack. She's an attacker. Cinderella's a defender. So you get like a 50% higher boost than what RH is saying. So basically, like, I believe it's 70-80% that she gives to everyone for 10 seconds. Well, first of all, it lasts longer than any other burst one. Um, Rouge would give a bonus, but it's nowhere near on the same level. And as a result, RH, like, say it's 80%, it's more like 120% attack increase for Cinderella. So as a result, RH is pretty good. And also RH allows you to generate burst pretty well, without Maiden actually losing her stacks. This is very important because this increases our max HP, which increase in turn our damage as a whole. So yeah. This does mean you can't really use RH somewhere else, but what do you do? As far as teams are concerned, it's fine. To put it in perspective, putting Graven RH here over Modernia and Blah, you effectively gain an extra, I want to say, 500, 600 mil bare minimum. Actually, no, in my case that was more like 700 mil. 700 mil, and you do not get 700 mil from having RH in a team. At least in my case. Maybe your RH is cracked beyond their years or whatever, but personally, I did not see that type of damage. So, yeah. With that said, let's talk about it. So the projectile goes on random people. This is the worst part of the fight. It makes the fight really ass. The ice balls will go on position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to stop every single one of them. Because if you do not stop them, what will happen is that your cover will be broken early and the Dragon Breath will kill you from fall. I wish I was kidding, but yes, you want to break all of them. Another thing to note is that I turned off numbers here. I strongly recommend you do too. Because it is so difficult to see the face of Nihilister. For those who don't know, if you hit in the middle gray part, roughly around here, you do what's called a core shot. Because yes, of course there's a core in the head, just like base Nihilister. However, aim assist does not help. So you have to actually shoot the actual core shot. So yeah, worth mentioning. So yeah, you break all the projectile, and here you want to break as many of these as you can. They're a bit of a nuisance to fucking figure out, but you kind of have to, because otherwise you will die. Then here comes the Dragon Breath. However, here as you're dealing with this, you can see that Nihilister is attacking something. Yeah, this is the worst part of the fight by far, and I don't understand why they coded it this way. So, to put it in perspective, those lasers are cancer. They will hit twice the first time, and then 3 times, and then 3 times again. And it precedes a Dragon Breath every single time. Why does that matter? You have to face tank some. Or Cinderella, the decoy, takes the hit for you, which is the perfect scenario. That's what you want to see the most. Because Red Hood can take 3, and then the 4th one kills her, and the cover can take 1, and that's it. So the problem I have with that move is just that it does too much damage to cover. If you were to face tank all 3, your cover is blown out. If you were to face tank 1 laser, and then use your cover for 2 more, the Dragon Breath will break the cover. So, yeah, it's kind of ass. And for one of the team, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. This is going to be Team 2. Just going to point this in advance. But yeah, the lasers are really sneaky because it happens while a lot of things are happening. You're trying to break all of these projectiles and the boss is lasering you, which is absolutely awful and dreadful to deal with. But it is what it is. With this team, it's mostly fine. It's mostly fine. Because Cinderella should be the way you're going to be set up for this fight in general. You should be able to line up Cinderella or like bursting a burst 3 in general, so that Cinderella's decoy procs at the right time for 2 of them. One of them is going to be a danger, but as I said, you can take 1 on the cover and 3 as HP. Here, I would do them a little faster to do more damage in the long run at the end of the fight. But yeah, again, I'm not redoing this fight. Like, BMF is difficult but fun. This is difficult but aids. So yeah, again, you have the 5 Ice Ball to deal with, and then here you have a QT, and yeah. Here I'm dealing with as much projectile as possible and then doing the QTE. You have very little time to do that, but I'm doing it just to be safe. Keep in mind, however, that you can do the QTE much sooner and then break the shit that's coming at you. As long as it's not going to Red Hood, you're mostly fine. You're mostly fine. But again, I was trying to just be safe. Because it's literally 6 in the morning and I have to go to bed at one point. Here comes the second Dragon Breath, and again, I'm just gonna point this out because that shit is sneaky as hell. The lasers are coming out here. So, the way the cycle works is that you have the QTE, and after the QTE you have 1 layer, and then it starts lasering it. So, yeah. You have to be on top of it, because if you are not mid-burst, Cinderella will not be able to take the lasers for you, and then Red Hood is most likely going to die. Just keep that in mind. Red Hood's cover is super important, and you cannot recover any of it, so... Again, I cannot stress how important that is. Yeah, this part is pretty rough, and as you can see, I was just fine at the end of the day, but yeah. Here comes the last set of lasers, and yeah, as you can see here, I'm literally just face tanking it with Red Hood. If you wonder, this depends on how fast you shoot, but in my case, I can shoot 3 times, and then I have to face tank the laser, 3 times, and then face tank the laser, 3 times, and then I can take the hit with the cover, basically. Here I could have been a bit more aggressive, but it is what it is. So here we are in effectively phase 2 of the fight. So this version, this fight version stops doing lasers, as far as I can tell, and also it's just going to loop into the QTE more. I think it also stopped doing ice balls. Basically, it's like the boss gives up, but still does the most annoying fucking move it has. Yeah, here as you can see, I did not try to deal with the projectile as much. And yeah. It is doable with just ignoring projectiles, but you'll have to retry a lot, because if Red Hood is the one being hit, then you're fucked. Another thing to note is here I was unlucky. I was just not generating burst, and as you can see, the last burst I did was Maiden. So if you are fast enough at holding Has through your burst rotation, you should be able to get Cinderella's burst in one last time, and for reference, that's like 200 mil damage. So one thing you can do because Red Hood's damage is not exactly absurd, so spam shooting is not exactly smart. If you see your burst about to run out, simply keep a full charge shot and then spam shoot afterward, so that you can get into burst faster and potentially, you know, get that last burst in. Now, keep in mind this is kind of nightmarish because you have to manage the fact that you have to deal with lasers, the little projectiles, and the QT, and all of that all at once, and balancing everything is a nightmare. So this is why I kind of didn't do that. This was 4 tries in, and then I was like, you know what, I'm good. I've done enough. I've done 3 to 4 hours of testing on this boss, only to be met by just really, really awful results for the most part. So I was completely fine with this. But as I said, if you get to just do that final burst, that's an easy 200, maybe 300 mil damage that you could make. So, yeah. Worth mentioning. So that's Team 1. Team 2 is the Maxwell comp. So, I'm going to preface this. My Maxwell is horseshit. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that if I can do this, you can too. Okay? Another thing, my Mary apparently is really good at wells. You're going to see why I say that at the end of the fight. That said, Mary is a bit awkward. Sometimes you shoot dead on into a circle, and it acts as if it didn't get shot. Yay! So if you want, if this happens to you, yeah, that's apparently normal for this fight. Probably because you have to shoot either dead center, or your shot has to like hit the boss or something. I don't know. It's really weird. But yeah, let's talk about this. So this fight will make you hate the laser. Because, frankly, even though you have basically infinite cover, Litter does not recover that cover fast enough. Here I have to swap to Ludmilla because Maxwell does not do enough damage to break projectiles. Here you want to cover, and then Mari is just going to break all the projectiles with her burst. And here I forget to uncover. So here with the laser, ideally you have one hitting your cover and one hitting Ludmilla. If you wonder why that's the case, I've explained it before, but I'll explain it again. If you get both of them hitting your cover, and then the blast of the fire breath were to hit you, your cover's dead. Again, I really wish the lasers did way less cover damage. It would completely make the fight way less cancer, and would be a lot more of a skill check, rather than a, oh, I just gotta get hit the first hit, and then cover and just hope for the best, Lamau. It is really awkward. But yeah, it is what it is. Here, yes, you burst with Maxwell mid this. That's completely fine. You just keep the charge the whole way through and then laser down the part. This is to basically make so that your burst lines up at the right moment toward the end. And here again, you try to hit in the mouth of Nihilister, or White Ice Dragon Lamau, to basically do core shots. It's especially important with Ludmilla because core shot actually triggers some of her abilities. Also, please don't forget to put resilience on Mari. For your own sake. I've been there, it sucks. Yeah, this is a bit of a nightmare to shoot, but if you actually shoot it right, you're actually able to core shot this and do a lot more damage. Yeah, here, I tanked 2 of them with my cover. And then I face tanked 1 with my HP. Also, full disclosure, my Ludmilla has 1 merge. That's it. again, this is a free-to-play account. What do you expect? The rest is pretty simple. You want to break the balls with Ludmilla, and yeah. Here I should have... This is a mistake on my end. What I should have done is keep Maxwell and just force the full charge to actually break the circle so that I can actually use Maxwell's burst to do damage to the boss. That was on me, but yeah, it is what it is. And here, as you can see what I did, I covered 2 shots and then face tanked another. And Litter recovers your cover right on time here. Because otherwise, yeah. It gets really tight. This is with Ludmilla face tanking absolutely everything. Now, ideally, another thing you could do is to just run another burst tree that self-buffs their attack when bursting specifically, which would basically allow you to take the heat off of Ludmilla so that basically the one that gets lasered is not always Ludmilla, but could be Ludmilla or the other unit depending on who's bursting. I didn't have options, so yeah, it is what it is. Just worth mentioning if you decide to do different teams. Here you really want to have, you know, gotten your max ammo back from reloading, so just something worth mentioning. After the Dragon Breath, you might want to swap to Ludmilla to get back your ammo if you see that at that point of the fight, whenever you're shooting these, you have no ammo left. I mean, machine guns or rocket launcher, these are basically the 2 options you have. And yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, I was a bit slow. I only realized that the part recovered just now for some reason. I shot 2 times in the circle and it didn't count. Yay. But yeah. After that, it's pretty self-explanatory. The boss is pretty simple, all things considered. It stops recovering parts after that last time, and that's about it. Full disclosure, I did 8.2 bill total. However, if this was the actual clear I did with this team, it would be 8.5 bill. I got basically clipped by a QTE ending, and then you have 0.5 seconds to restart. I double tap escape by accident, and it killed my fucking run, so I lost 280 mil as a result. It is what it is, but yeah. The end page has been... The end page with all of my scored damage dealt is edited to have the proper damage done on Mach after clearing the... after clearing challenge mode for real. It's not authentic, but I'd rather do that and have to screenshot. It's less annoying to look at. Team 3 is the Ein team. So Ein is basically a lot easier than the other 2, because Shield with Crown are kind of stupid. It allows you to cheat a lot. The only thing you really find annoying and very important to deal with is effectively going to be the laser. Wow, surprise! Because Exia is just going to die passively otherwise. She ends up boosting her attack by a lot, so yeah. So, here is one thing you can do. Because Crown does not care for her damage, she does not care about doing damage to the boss, you can just swap the Crown to break the projectile as the cooldown is still going. Now, if you're wondering, AJ, why are you using Dola on this team? Thank you, hypothetical person. Essentially, the reason why you use Dola here, despite the fact that her burst CDR fully stacked is less than, say, volume, for example, is that you'd rather use volume for Blanc and Noir in a different comp. Because the problem with the thing with volume is that the only other option you have is a disgusting little gremlin known as Dororo, and Dororo does not work as a CDR unless you have Privity on the team, which basically forces 2 units on the team already, which is kind of a nightmare. And unlike Blanc, it does not provide good enough advantage to be used. So yeah, it's not like back in the time where you were able to use Dororo with Privity and Crown with SBS and Alice, because at that point, it was working purely because Alice really appreciated having more ammo. But that's not the case anymore. Or rather, this is a fight where Alice and SBS do good, but not as well as electric specialized units. So yeah. So this fight is pretty chill for this team. No pun intended, I just realized. Because for the most part, Crown will taunt some of the lasers away, which takes responsibility away from the player. And also the shields will allow you to face tank one of the lasers, so you can actually recognize the threat, because the laser is just going to shatter the shield first, which is fine. So yeah, all that to say, it's a lot easier to deal with as a result. You're gonna find out that those circles are very, very weak, and going in a circular motion like that, you can actually break the circle pretty well. So yeah, there's that. And as you can see, you break those part fast. Side note, if you have a Pierce unit, it's pretty good to keep one alive here before breaking the balls, because then you can just spam shoot it to generate burst. Or in Maxwell's case, you can just, in some case, because the first part you've destroyed was through the burst of Ludmilla, you can simply like keep the other part alive, so you can Maxwell burst it down and do double damage. Now, as far as this is concerned, again, like, this is a pretty chill one. The projectiles are a problem, but for the most part, you can kind of ignore them as long as you've broken the ice shards on top of its shoulders. Your cover is finite, mind you, but for the most part, when you're not bursting, you can just swap the Crown to break projectiles, and that makes your life a lot easier. Your damage in this team is pretty good, so, you know, again, it's worth mentioning. And here I sometimes break projectile like this because why not? You know, when you're bursting with Ein, it doesn't matter what you're shooting at. As you can see here, yeah, Exia is still eating shit, so that's also why I broke the projectile, because they look like they were going for Exia. I don't have infinite cover, so, you know. Although, at this point, I am now finally at a point where, once you're at that point, having no cover does not matter. The boss stops Dragon Breathing, it kind of gives up on doing damage, as I said before, so it becomes a lot easier to deal with. So yeah. Yeah, this part is pretty rough. If it keeps going for Exia, it's pretty rough. But as you can see here, my taunt procced, and you can just go back and forth until every projectiles are broken. So yeah. Yeah, at this point you just do damage. You just do as much as you can. Again, pretty simple team overall. But yeah. Also, I'm just gonna point this out. The funny part about the damage. My Maiden, again, is not very good. And, this one is just funny because the support does more damage than the other two. As I said, my Maxwell is utter shit. And my Ludmilla is decent, but my Mary apparently has a lot of elemental damage, so... yeah, go figure. Now, the fourth team is the Scarlet Bunnies. Scarlet Bunnies actually do have a bit of a problem, and it's shocking no one, Scarlet, because I can't just face tank laser constantly. I can, but not as much as I'd like. So, yeah, this part can be a little rough. Thankfully, you can kind of ignore this entire, like, shard mechanic because you just heal so much. Here, I just face tank the lasers, and that's the thing, right? With this team specifically, I just said that you can't just tank the lasers, but yeah, that's kind of the strategy. You have to tank the lasers with Scarlet, because if you don't tank the lasers with Scarlet, your cover breaks. If your cover breaks, game over, you're dead. Because you self-inflict damage while burning your ass off, so it's just, you're dead, basically. There's nothing about this. Here, you just go in a circle motion, and usually it will break most circles. And then you just, like, kill whatever is the leftovers. So, I don't know how useful this team is going to be for people. I'm saying this because my Scarlet here is pretty good. I think I put 6 buff into her, and she got like 4 elemental, 2 attack, and 2 ammo, which is just absurd. So I don't expect to do as much damage as my Scarlet did here. I'm just gonna point this out. Another benefit in having Scarlet and Noir, however, is that you have AoEs every time you're bursting, which means you're dealing with all the projectiles. It reduces RNG greatly, and the bit that do get in, well, you're mostly fine with. So, yeah. Just keep in mind when the laser comes in, if you have low ammo like I do, might be a good idea to like cover and then peek out when the laser is about to shoot. Like here, I take one, I go back into cover a few times, and then just I face tank all 3 of them. Here, as you can see, my cover gets ripped off. Even with everything, my cover does get broken, but it's completely fine because at that point, I've dealt with just about everything. Again, this is why you have a machine gun on the team, just to do this QT easy and fast. Technically, if you have a lot of ammo in Scarlet, I only have 54. Well, actually, 54 only one. No. Oh yeah, 54 one Noir is giving me more ammo. If you don't have Noir's buff, I think I have like 49. So it's not that much ammo, but I know it might be bigger than most. Just know that when the laser comes out, you might have to reload, because if you don't reload, then you are just going to run out of ammo as you get lasered, and then your cover is no more. So, yeah. Just thought it would be more worth mentioning because, again, yeah, it's pretty important. Also, the numbers kind of lie because you do damage to all the flying parts with the AoE as well, so... yeah, but I think I did roughly like 500, 600 mil with my Scarlet. Actually, to the boss, which is kind of absurd, to be honest. Actually, 450 to 500. But yeah, this is very simple. It's just mind the laser, you gotta face tank them, or you die kind of fight. For the rest of for what's left of the fight, it's pretty simple. Now, for Tia Naga! Yay! Tia Naga is a joke. Just straight up. As long as you break the source of coldness, Tia just taunts everything, and then Naga just heals her back to full anyway. It doesn't fucking matter. You can basically do this with your eyes closed, and genuinely, if you struggle, What? Like, you see me ignore every mechanic here. Because you have Tia's shield, which is bigger on herself, by the way. So, she's able to just face tank quite a lot with just the laser. Oh, and here's the big sweaty thing. When you're bursting here, always shoot with Scarlet, because you can do more damage to the boss, even if the boss is not on screen. Shocker, I know. I'm pretty sure, like, most people already picked up on that, but I figured I might as well mention it. What do I have to lose? Here, Naga is the only one for the circles, but yeah. As you can see, like, this is, like, extremely chill compared to the other ones. You have Tia shields to deal with everything. You have Naga actually healing, and then you have a Taunter to keep your DPS, the ones that can't take damage, alive. Keep in mind, however, that I do run the damage reduction cube on Tia, so if you see that you actually struggle surviving, maybe it's because you don't have the cube on. And if you don't, well, put it on. Also, another thing of note, if you are struggling with the QT and you're not currently bursting, just swap to Tia and shoot. I believe I do this in this very attempt, but I figure I might as well mention it for people who don't actually watch to the end, because they think, oh, I've seen everything. So yeah. See here, I run out of burst, and there we go. Yeah, this unfortunately kind of happens sometimes, just because the QTE makes everyone cover like idiots, so it is what it is. As for the rest of the fight, it's pretty simple. As I said, this is like the most chill version of this fight. It's actually stupid. Come on, do it. There we go. So, hopefully this helps a few people. I know this raid is genuinely really bad. Genuinely, I think this is the worst raid since, I want to say, Stormbringer, which I believe is solo raid number 9. We are on solo raid number 20. I don't know, man. This is the first solo raid I genuinely find very frustrating, because it blocks you out of so many options as far as team building is concerned. And the worst part about this is, guess what? Base Nihilister was the same problem for a lot of people who actually wanted to get into solo raid. They just couldn't. The boss would just rip off your cover, and then you'd be like, well, great. I can make it work with Litter comp. I can make it work with Tia Naga comp. Everything else, though, they don't work. Or they work, but feel awful to play with. Thankfully, that just crosses that one of the list of bosses to actually, like, reskin, and I really hope people actually send feedback to just mention just how ludicrous this is. It's really weird to me, because they actually did make moves that would be able to just one-shot your characters, but if you were to cover it, you were taking very little cover damage. To make up for, you know, the idea is, if you're good at the game, you cover the hit, and then you actually keep moving. If you don't do that, you die, and that's got you because you... Okay, I'm going to shorten this as simple as I can. Skill issue. So, yeah. It's just really weird. They already have that coded in, and they just didn't use it for the laser of this fight, and it's just utterly miserable. I think the Dragon Breath doing less damage to cover and the Laser doing less damage to cover, if you were to cover it, would have made for a much better fight. That and the rocks being sent in 2 waves, first wave going on one character and then on a second character, would have made the fight a lot more, well, fun to play with. Like, I'm sorry. Am I asking too much by making the fight skill-based instead of luck-based? I don't know, man. But yeah, here are the teams I've used. Note that the team in the middle, I've edited it through Paint.net, so it actually has the correct numbers. In the actual run I did, I lost 280 mil-ish to just, well, dying to a QTE. I failed for 0.1 second. Yay. It's more like 0.5, but yeah. Again, hopefully this helps people. And with that, I'm going to go to bed. I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.